Hello to all of those out there in the world of the internet. Today we will be looking at the Chariot card, card 7 of the Major Arcana. As always, if you're watching when this is not live, feel free to fast forward until 5 minutes in, where we'll begin the main part of the material. And in the meantime, I'm going to set everything up. Okay, wait, let me just fix this stuffs. Fix the stuffs. Okay. So, we are 4 minutes away from beginning. Put my phone over there. Oh boy, starting another live stream bright and early here. Another tarot discussion. So I'm not even fully woken up yet. But I will be soon enough. So, oh hey there, Luminiferous. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. So one advantage to starting this so early, but I'm still a little bit tired, is I can start it very calm and then we can just naturally allow the momentum to build throughout it. Now, why is my add this button not working? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I can just copy and paste the link manually. I've had to do this before. We're less than 3 minutes away from beginning. You're a little heartbroken. Oh no. Well, I do hope that you can move forward. Heartbreak is an inevitable part of human experience, it would seem, isn't it? Alright, let's see here. I'm live with my analysis of the Chariot card. Should be mysterious. Okay, let's see here. Tweet looks good. Hello, little laughing lug. Welcome to the stream. Alright, we are 1.5 minutes away from beginning. Okay, yes, that tweet looks good. Sometimes I get really obsessive about controlling things on these streams, or like trying to get everything right. I want everything to be just right. Then I have to remind myself that I can relax and just let things happen. YouTube's little live chat thing is new and staying there. Interesting. Anyway, we're less than 1 minute away from officially beginning. So I'll be looking at the Chariot card. Should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to getting fully woken up. I kind of like really hurried today in a way. Or I didn't hurry, but I sort of hurried more than usual to get ready for the stream. So I've only been awake for a little over 3 hours. But that's saying something, because I like to take my time. You know, I like to have a good breakfast and give myself a tarot reading incidentally. So, and then taking the stream actually takes a surprising amount of time to set up too. Like I can't just go live. I have to like set everything up. But anyway, I see we are 5 minutes in, so let us begin. So first, I have to make my preliminary remarks. Hopefully, I remember all of them, which include the idea that, first of all, I am not necessarily calling myself an expert on these subjects. I don't belong to any occult order or anything like that. I'm coming into this completely as an individual. I've had no official training or anything like that. I have been studying these subjects for a couple of years, and I do believe that I know quite a bit about them by now, but of course there's so much more to learn, and that's really the point that I'm making, is that I don't know everything about tarot, far from it. I've only been at this for a couple of years. I haven't been at this for decades, but I will share what I know and share my interpretations, and my interpretations are going to differ from that of others in many cases. And I also want to say that, on that note, I consider myself just as much a student of this material as, I guess, a teacher of it. And every single time I do one of these streams, I learn a lot more myself. So this isn't just like my teaching a class here. This is my learning, too. This is my learning probably just as much as anyone else, I guess. And so again, yeah, remember, these are my interpretations. My opinions and perspectives are going to be all throughout the material, or at least from time to time. Other than that, what else do I want to say? Just that, as usual, the format that this will take is I will spend an amount of time giving my overview of the card, my interpretation of it as it relates to human consciousness, and also the meanings if it shows up in a tarot reading. And then I'll be taking comments and questions, and we'll be looking up additional interpretations, and we'll be talking about those and analyzing all of that information. And this stream will also be in 2 parts today, as has been the case recently. So this one will probably be about 2.5 to 3 hours, hopefully more like 3 hours, and then I'll take a break to have lunch, come back after an hour or two, and we'll have part 2, which will hopefully be even longer. So, am I doing readings? I will do readings later if people want, once we go over a lot of the material, but that will be a little while yet. So I think that's all of my preliminary remarks that I need to make. So let us begin. This is an analysis of the Chariot card, card 7 of the Major Arcana. Now, this is one of the cards that I feel like I don't know as much about as other cards of the Major Arcana or the tarot in general, but I will communicate what I know, and we'll take it from there. So this card, as for what it pertains to in the area of human consciousness, I'm actually somewhat unsure of. My best guess would be the point in time when one develops their determination and willingness to push forward. But I'm sure that there's so much more to it than that, and hopefully we will discover that in this stream. One thing that in particular that is interesting about that, though, is it seems to represent the, how do I put this, the state of having a healthy ego, the state of having that determination, and even the rigidity that the ego can have, and sort of that area of life, the will to win and stuff like that. And so, as we'll see as we go, willpower factors into this card a lot. But there's also this whole other side of this card. It's so interesting. This card almost seems to be about 2 very different things, but perhaps they are connected in ways that we do not now suspect. And that other side of this card has to do in particularly with its Cancerian connections. So we're talking things like things like tradition and heritage, patriotism, loyalty to one's family or culture or whatever. We're talking the home, and that in different forms, perhaps we could say, because of course, again, the Cancer rulership, we're talking the sign of the home and family. And we're also, in that respect, looking at this idea of needs and wants and desires and the emotional world, and perhaps even deep emotional meaning, and the entire inner world, the private world, the personal world, things of this nature. And so we have that side of this card, and then we have this other side that seems to be all about willfulness and determination and having a strong, healthy ego. And as I'm analyzing it, it kind of seems like those don't necessarily go together, but my suspicion is that they actually do go together in some way, a way in which even I am unaware of. And so again, I'm hoping that we can figure that out in this stream. I'm hoping we can discover that, because I don't know, could it be something like perhaps it's the stability of having a strong home or a stable home environment that then gives rise to that sense of determination and having a healthy ego and stuff like that? I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out. But so I've already mentioned its connection with the sign of Cancer. And so, of course, again, we're talking, deep emotional meaning. We're talking safety and security. Cancer is a very self-protective sign. And so that's going to factor into this card. With it being card 7, it's going to be associated with the 7th house and the sign of Libra. So 7th house, we're basically looking at things like, what do they say? Like marriage and open enemies, basically, is the 7th house. And I think we could say partnerships as well. So like, yeah, or even public enemies. I think I've heard that word before or term before, basically the same thing. So we're talking that sort of like more public relationship, public types of interactions. And we're also talking the energy of Libra itself, which is all about balance and seeking harmony and objectivity and seeing both sides of things and diplomacy and stuff like that. So hopefully we can get into more of those factors in this card, or see how that factors into this card more as we go. Let's see, what else? Did I want to say something about the symbolism? Just that it's interesting on that note of the Libra note, how you can see the two sphinxes or whatever, having the black and white contrast in the way that they do. And even, maybe I'm looking into this a little too much, but even if you really look close at the figure in the Chariot, how balanced this figure is on the left and right. And you can even see, if you look at the shoulders, you can see a face that is sort of displaying, sort of displaying one emotion, and the face is displaying another. Like basically, it looks like contentment and discontentment. If I don't know if it'll focus or not for us. It should eventually. There it goes. Yeah, you can see how on one side there's a face that looks like it's a face of contentment, satisfaction, being pleased with oneself perhaps. And on the other, there's this dissatisfaction, this sort of unease, it looks like, this disturbance, this maybe even, it almost reminds me right now of the face of a competitor who feels like he or she is losing, perhaps. And that might factor into this as well, with the whole idea of like a healthy ego and the willfulness and determination, stuff like that. So, welcome back, Luminiferous. So, for the most part, I guess that's my overview of the card. Now, there was a realization that I had about this card just a couple weeks ago, something that I couldn't quite crack about it, but I finally did. And I thought to myself, let me see if I can phrase this correctly. It's like, why would a card about such intense willfulness and determination be ruled by Cancer, an emotional self-protective sign? But then what I figured out was that so much of the time our personalities, because of the trauma we've been through, have basically structured themselves so that that which we present to the world is what keeps us the most safe. And so there you have that sort of ego, that egoic outer shell, right? That is all about self-protection. And that's what the sign of Cancer is about. And what's behind this desire for self-protection? It is deep emotion. And so, and I mean, I guess we could, even look at this or see this more in the sign of Cancer itself. Cancer, the crab, right? The crab having its hard outer shell. And so I guess when you think of it in that light, in terms of the way our personalities structure themselves and psychology and trauma and stuff like that, it begins to make a lot more sense. And that was something that, again, I didn't even figure out until just a couple of weeks ago. And it just hit me all of a sudden one day when I was watching a YouTube video on that sort of subject, nothing to do with tarot, but about our personalities and how they structure themselves. And our personalities are basically an amalgamation of that which has kept us the most safe in the past. Now, once one becomes, I guess, perhaps more authentic, maybe that becomes less and less the case. I'm not sure. But I think right there is probably, at least that would be my strongest theory at this point, what that is all about, that connection right there. So, indeed, that gives rise to, I guess you could say the positive aspect of that is it does give rise to someone who is strong, determined, willful, who can get things done, who can push forward as needed. Having that hard outer shell, perhaps one could argue, has its advantages, and maybe that's what this card is arguing. Hopefully we can flesh that out more as well as we go. So that's basically how I see this card. As for how do I interpret it when I get it in a reading, I usually think of this energy of willfulness and determination and willpower. I also think of the emotional side of it, the needs, the wants, the desires. And, that's primarily it. However, it's also interesting to consider that it is indeed a lunar card. And so anything that has to do with the moon, well, what do we see in the moon? We see this idea of reflection. So could reflection be a big part of this card? Well, I'm sure it is. Now, in what way, I'm not sure at this time. Like I said, I don't know everything. But we even see some of that, in the sphinxes here, in the faces on the shoulders here, this idea of reflection. And of course, the moon is also going to be connected to more feminine energy. And it's interesting because this card is card 7 of the major arcana, ruled by the moon. The next card, card 8, strength or lust in other decks, is ruled by the sun. And there's 78 cards in the entire tarot. So 7, the moon, 8, the sun and the moon, the masculine and feminine. So I think there's a connection there of some kind, like even the very reason that the tarot has 78 cards is probably commenting on more of that which it is all about, that constant interplay, that constant polarity in human life experience and the experience of human consciousness that is masculine and feminine energy. So, forget the emotional side, lunatic mirror. Yeah, indeed. So I would say that's about it. Yeah, like if I got this card on its own for like a single day in my life or something, I would say, wow, this is a day where I'm really going to use my willpower and stuff like that. And or maybe it's a day where I'm going to explore my needs and emotions and stuff like that a lot more and get in touch with stuff like that. So And of course, there's so much more to it, but that is my overview, summing up my knowledge of this card. And so, indeed, as always at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the chat. If anyone has any comments or questions so far, let me know. And after that, we will be looking up more information about this and analyzing all of that. So let me know. Do you guys have any comments or questions so far? Can we start with the thought site? If you would like to, yes. We're probably going to get to, it's like getting to one of the very best first thing, but no, that's good. Yeah, I don't see why not, because we're going to get to, I'm wanting to get to everything eventually anyway. Let's see, I'm just going to check on the status of a couple of things here. Going to get a new deck today. That's exciting. Also, yeah, Little Laughing Like, do you have a link to that site? Because I'm not sure if I have it easily within reach or not. Or you can just tell me what to search, I guess. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to get a Kleenex real quick. You'd like to stick with a weight deck, Luminiferous? Yeah, I don't blame you. As much as I, can't wait to try out other decks over time, I do really like the Rider Waite. Let's see, should I pull this site up on my tablet or should I perhaps look at it on my computer? I guess I'm going to pull this up on my tablet since that way I can look at the chat and the stream at the same time. See if it's in the history here now that I pull it up on my computer. Guess not. Okay. All right, just 1 moment, please, people. Okay, I think this is it. Yes, here we go. Hello, Connor, aka Josh or fake Josh. Welcome to the stream. Right, your Thoth is still barely used, but you wore out the wait. I see. Yeah, I can't wait to get a Thoth deck one day. It will happen soon enough, I'm sure. All right, so this is indeed esotericmeanings.com. Their article on the Chariot card, in particular the Thoth version of the Chariot, which, again, I mean, probably everyone here already knows this, but I'll just say it anyway, and for anyone who watches when this is not live. If you're not aware, the Thoth deck is one of the best tarot decks probably that exist, one of the most symbolically accurate and relevant, perhaps one could say, at least to my knowledge. Basically, the Rider-Waite and the Crowley Thoth are the best ones, the two best decks. So I highly recommend it. In fact, in many ways, from what I've seen thus far, the Thoth deck is actually quite superior to the Rider-Waite deck. So, interesting. But anyway, let's see, Thoth Chariot YouTube presentation. This is someone's video or something. My new YouTube channel is Thoth Tarot Videos. Okay, cool. Well, check them out if you feel so inspired. Thoth Chariot Tarot card. A charioteer in armor sits in a meditation posture in his chariot drawn by the four cherubic beasts of the bull, the lion, the eagle, and the man or angel. The starry night sky is cast in the canopy of the chariot and includes the inscription Abracadabra. He holds the Holy Grail in front of him. So, yeah, the bull, the lion, the eagle, and the man. So that would be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, I believe. Again, you guys probably already know this, but I guess in more ancient times or whatever, Scorpio was represented by an eagle instead of a scorpion. So you kind of have, you know, dual symbols there. So continuing, it says, Chariot equals wheels of life equals soul identifies with wheel of karma. Charioteer equals meditator equals soul identifies with stillness of spirit. Disc equals Holy Grail containing elixir of life equals Christ used in Last Supper equals symbolic for discovering man's infinite nature, which does not get born or die. And then it shows an image of the card. So we can go ahead and show that. The Thoth Chariot card. Then, of course, the Rider-Waite version you guys have already seen. Thoth Chariot and the Tree of Life. Let's take a quick look at that. Let's see, I don't know if it's fully focusing enough to read the text. There we go. So I just want to give people enough time to look at this and consider this. All right. Path number 18, Bina to Gebera. The path of the chariot is the first path to cross the abyss from the lower Sephira. This implies the descent of spirit in the lower manifested universe. The purpose of this path is to illustrate that whatever our personal beliefs, we should remain receptive to the influence of the divine moving through the vehicle of our lives in its own unique way. The purpose of this path is to illustrate that whatever our personal beliefs, we should remain receptive to the influence of the divine moving through the vehicle of our lives in its own unique way. That is worth considering. Bina equals birth of form and limits Gebera, which equals destruction. Put together, it implies a process of moving through the old and breaking down ideas so that we can move on to something new. Thoth Chariot Hebrew and astrological attribution. Here you can see the symbol. is a very good site in that it displays these images and whatnot. And we can show them on stream here. It's very useful for our educational purposes. Hebrew cheth equals fence or field. It links in with the qualities associated with the Cancer zodiac sign described below. On the evolutionary path, cheth represents the enclosure, which is the container for the spiritual essence or the soul within the body. The enclosure, which is the container for the spiritual essence or the soul within the body. Field equals something to cultivate in your life. Astrology, Cancer. Cancer, the ruling sign of this card, is the crab who also has a hard shell like the armor of the charioteer. I don't know why there's a hyphen between shell and like, but anyway. Has a hard shell like the armor of the charioteer. Cancer is known to retreat into its shell to protect its soft underbelly, symbolically of someone protecting their most vulnerable side. Aha, just like I was talking about some earlier. In the same way, the chariot acts as a protected vehicle to protect the charioteer as his armor. The chariot acts as a protected vehicle to protect the charioteer. Almost like it's supposed to say maybe as does his armor, like his armor is supposed to protect him as well. Now, was I going to say something else about that? Just to kind of reiterate that idea of like Cancer is known to retreat into its shell to protect its soft underbelly. The soft underbelly would be those deep emotions, and the hard outer shell is the stuff that has kept us safe, in reference to my theory from earlier. I feel like I was going to say one other thing, though, if I could just remember what it was. No, it's escaping me. Hello, area. Welcome to the stream. We are analyzing the Thoth version of the Chariot card right now. Thoth Chariot symbology. Charioteer equals has no reins and so does not drive the chariot. His main function is to carry the Holy Grail. Crab on helmet, Cancer sign of the zodiac. Armor, similar to protective shell of the crab described above. 10 stars on armor, 10 sephira of the tree of life and attributed to the world of Asaya. I do love how this gets into the Kabbalistic / Tree of Life correspondences, because that's an area that I'm just not that familiar with yet, other than just on a very, very basic level. Welcome back, Luminiferous. That shows a chart. It shows a chart here. It says 4 worlds of Kabbalah, or Kabbalah, and you can see here that chart. Try to get it to focus. Doesn't want to focus yet. There we go. So you can reference this if you would like. I guess for anyone who watches when this is not live, you can also pause your video at that point and analyze it further if you want. So it's interesting saying Asaya corresponds to Earth, or the suit of pentacles. Yetzirah corresponds to air, suit of swords. Bria corresponds to water, the suit of cups. And Atzuluth corresponds to fire, the suit of wands. I am unsure also if I'm pronouncing some of these correctly. Like I said, my knowledge of the Tree of Life is extremely limited at this time. Alright, so sapphires on armor, linked to Bina, which gives birth to form. There's therefore a link here between Bina, birth of form, and its manifestation in Malkuth. I remembered what I wanted to say earlier, okay. And this was going to be part of my preliminary remarks, but it slipped my mind, as happens sometimes. What I was wanting to say is that again, the reason that I am wanting to study these cards and present all of this, the reason that I think it's important to study these cards and highly beneficial is because these cards are a reflection of the path of human consciousness. Again, I think those watching probably already know this, but in case anyone doesn't, these cards are a reflection of you. And so even if, I would even say, even if you don't have that much of an interest in tarot, it would still be beneficial to familiarize yourself with them and perhaps even study them in depth because as you study these sort of pure archetypes, you study yourself, and it's a way to even purify your own vibration and become much more self-aware. And it really also comes back to this idea that knowledge is power. You know, that's an old saying and sounds very cliche, but it is so absolutely true. Knowledge is power. You want to get your power back in this physical life experience, you focus on gaining knowledge. And especially, I would say, even this kind of knowledge that deals with the nature of human consciousness. So I'm not just doing this, like I say about most things that I'm about, I'm not just doing this for some, theoretical, philosophical, whatever. I'm doing this because it's actually highly beneficial in our day-to-day lives, even our practical day-to-day lives is highly beneficial, this kind of knowledge. That's the way I see it anyway. So let us continue. Okay, I'm just going to start this paragraph over. Sapphires on armor, linked to Bina, which gives birth to form. There is therefore a link here between Bina, birth of form, and its manifestation in Malkuth. This implies the meaning of the card relates to practical planning of things for its manifestation in our life. I'll say that again. This implies the meaning of the card relates to practical planning of things for its manifestation in our life. So talking about that area of human life experience. Visor covers the face. Crowley says that, quote, no man may look upon his face and live, end quote. Spiritually, this means that once we see his true identity, we will die to our current perspective of the world, which will subsequently be changed forever. Oh boy, isn't that delicious? That once we see his true identity, we will die to our current perspective of the world, which will subsequently be changed forever. Wow. Meditative posture equals concentrates his will internally, not externally. Sits on moon equals moon represents the emotion / subconscious. So he is not, I think it's supposed to say dominated. So he is not dominated by these facets of his lower nature. That's interesting to consider. This idea of perhaps emotional control. And I guess there's a lot that could be said about that. But yeah, this card being indeed about using one's willpower, not being so swayed by emotion. But it's also, again, it's so weird because the paradox is that there is that deep emotional side to it because of its Cancerian rulership, basically. Or I guess we could say that's, I don't know, it's hard to find the exact right words to say these things. So let us continue. Red Chariot wheels equals Geburah ruled by Mars, will in action. Red cloak equals passion of Geburah, so Geburah provides the energy to cross the abyss. White cloak equals purity of purpose. 4 pillars equals 4 parts of the tetragrammaton, representing macrocosm and microcosm, linking the spiritual to the physical. The charioteer connects the two by crossing the abyss. He has to lose his ego when making his way from Geburah to Bina. He has to lose his ego when making his way from Geburah to Bina. Fascinating. And what it says representing macrocosm and microcosm, I'm assuming you guys understand that, but just to, in case anyone doesn't, the macrocosm being the wider, bigger picture, and the microcosm being a tiny part of that, like a fractal perhaps. Like you could say that what's even a good example? A microcosm being one type of thing, like one, geez, I can't think of a good example right now for some reason. But like macrocosm would be like the universe, and like a microcosm would be like one little part of that universe, but that represents that whole universe. So I think that explains it well enough. So where were we? 4 sphinxes equals 4 caribs, bull, lion, eagle, man, and these are interchanged/mixed in characteristics to make 16 sub-elements, which we have discussed in the court cards. They represent the cardinal signs of each element. This is, as I went over earlier, lion equals Leo, equals fire, eagle equals Scorpio, equals water, man equals Aquarius, equals air, bull equals Taurus, equals earth. As an aside here, I've thought it kind of funny before. Well, I don't know. I don't know if there's a connection here or not, but if any of you are familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality test and how there are 16 personality types, you know, like INFP and ENTJ and all this stuff, I've wondered before, like, isn't it funny that there's 16 personality types in that? And the court cards of the tarot, there are also 16 of those, 16 types of people, you know. Now, I don't know if there's an exact correspondence or not, but I think that's at the very least an interesting area of study. And if any of you are wondering, geez, what did I get when I last took that? I'm pretty sure I'm an INFJ, but I'm almost an ENFJ, if you can believe that, at least according to that test. So I'm like right on the cusp of introverted and extroverted, which is funny because I think I'm more introverted, but you know, whatever. So I guess I'm introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging, and also more assertive than turbulent, according to that. You're an INTJ. Funny thing, I used to be of a sort of a different disposition as little as, I don't know, just over a year ago, and I took that test and I got INTJ that time instead of INFJ. So I guess there was a time where I was more thinking than feeling, but now I'm back to being more feeling than thinking. So it's kind of funny. Should we do mine? This is definitely going to be different. Oh yeah, let us know. Let us know. There's a correspondence. 51% introvert. Same here, like 51 or 52% introverted, and then like, you know, 49 or 48 extrovert. I think it's so funny. So I'm like right in the middle. Anyway, so Luminiferous, you believe there is a correspondence, huh? I'd like to see, be interested to find out what those correspondences are. Am I taking questions? Not right now, but I will be later after we go over the material, perhaps in half an hour or so, or after we go over this material at least. So it's up to you if you want to wait around or not for that. Let us continue. The cardinal signs being the first of each element to manifest implies that the charioteer has control over the direction of his world, and therefore the direction in which he moves is a useful one. That is fascinating right there. So let me think about this some more. The cardinal signs being the first of each element to manifest implies that the charioteer has control over the direction of his world, and therefore the direction in which he moves is a useful one. What I'm wondering here, though, is why did it just go over the fixed signs? You know, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, those are all fixed signs, not cardinal signs. So, but I can see how the Chariot, and it's interesting because it's ruled by Cancer and also is associated with Libra, and those are both cardinal signs. I could see how it would be connected to the initiatory energy of the cardinal signs like that. So they can't be swayed. Yeah, I'm just, where's this getting, what I'm really wanting to know, though, what I'm confused about is where is this article getting its connection to the cardinal signs? Like, why is it suddenly bringing them up? Like, how specifically does that connect to the Chariot card? That's what I'm not understanding here. Like, I know I just said what I just said, but it's not saying that in the article. That was my thought. Because they what? NESW. Well, maybe we'll figure that out at some point. Let's just continue. Holy Grail equals held in the hands of the charioteer and made of amethyst, the stone attributed to Jupiter. The violet rim and blue outer area are also associated with Jupiter and the color scales of the Golden Dawn. The Holy Grail was used by Christ at the Last Supper and contains the elixir of life. Crowley identifies it with sexual alchemy and containing both male and female fluids. Fascinating. And then there's an image there you guys can take a look at. Like northeast, southwest. Now I'm trying to... Still don't get how that connects to the Chariot card, though. The Thoth version, at least. Or is it the idea that it's a chariot and thus therefore directions? But this article isn't saying that at all, though. But anyway, let's continue. The Grail has 4 spirals for handles, and this represents the 4th Sephira, Chesed, ruled by Jupiter. This is the last Sephira that one passes through before crossing the abyss, going up the tree from earth to spirit on the spiritual journey. Wait, this is the last Sephira that one passes through before crossing the abyss and going up the tree from earth to spirit on the spiritual journey. Chesed, ruled by Jupiter. So it's saying that the Grail represents the 4th Sephira, Chesed, and that is the last one that one passes through before crossing the abyss, going up the tree from earth to spirit on the spiritual journey. And it shows another image there of the tree of life. If I can get it to focus, there we go. Okay. 6 rays emanating from center of disk equals influence of Tifereth, the 6th Sephiroth on the tree of life. Red center of Grail equals represents the sun reaching the pinnacle of its power in Cancer at the summer solstice. Abracadabra equals written on top of the canopy, which disguises the real name, which is Abrahadabra, with an H instead of a C. Abrahadabra equals the word of the new Eon of Horus. See 3 Eons article. That gets into some interesting stuff from what I recall. The Eon of Horus. Yeah, why don't we do a stream about that sometime on some of Crowley's like beliefs and his whole book of the law and stuff like that. That would be fascinating. The Hebrew association with the chariot is Cheth, as described above, and its numerical value is 418, the same as Abrahadabra. Abrahadabra can be broken down into 5 vowels, the A's, and 6 consonants. Wait, how's this trying to say this? I think it's trying to say 2 B's, 2 R's, and H's, and a D. Which... 2 R's, 1 H, and 1 D. That's how it's saying. Okay, yeah, because there is only 1 H. All right. And so represents the union of man, microcosm, pentagram, and God, macrocosm, hexagram. That's interesting. So if you analyze that word, abrahadabra, and how it can be broken down into 5 vowels and 6 consonants, and you can say, Thus, therefore, it represents the union of man, microcosm, comma, pentagram, and God, macrocosm, comma, hexagram. So the 5 vowels being the pentagram, and the 6 consonants being the hexagram, and the pentagram being man, and God being, or the hexagram being God. The pentagram being man, the hexagram being God. And that word representing the union of man and God. That is so fascinating. And that is indeed the idea, isn't it? That really we are ultimately one with that universal source energy or God or whatever you want to call it. We think that we are physical beings, and in a certain sense and framework, we certainly are, but we are still spiritual beings even while we are caught up in this illusion of physicality. You know, just because we enter into this framework of the physical doesn't mean that we stop being spiritual or non-physical, if you can understand what I mean by that. So, all right. That would be awesome. It would be, Connor, I have a question when the intermission comes up. All right. I will take your question when the intermission comes up. And chants, I don't know what those are. I don't know what AEIOU are, but anyway, let's just continue. It also contains the masculine and the feminine, as well as elements of the full, as outlined below, and put together relates a spiritual process. A equals Aleph, which equals full, which equals nothingness. BR equals Beth, which equals magician, which equals male. Fascinating. Abrahadabra linked to Tifereth equals where the union of man and God happens, the 5 and the 6 unite. 21 yellow bricks of path, parentheses 7 are hidden. 21 is, I don't know how to say this, Iea or something like that. It's E-H-E-I-E-H. Again, that's E-H-E-I-E-H. And it says, a god name for Kether, the ultimate goal for the spiritual aspirant, and so the chariot travel the path from Tifereth to Kether. Next part is the lovers to chariot transition. And it shows an image here. I guess I'll show that real quick. The 2 cards. Going back to Crowley's quote regarding looking at the charioteer's face and dying, this card implies the seeker will have to overcome difficult challenges internally and externally on his journey, and that these need to be resolved, not suppressed. Isn't that the truth? Once these are worked through, life will never be the same again for them, and they will be able to die to their old self as they gain, I think it's supposed to say they gain higher awareness of their true spiritual nature. They will be able to die to their old self as they gain higher awareness of their true spiritual nature. And isn't that the truth? If you really want to live this human life and you want to be authentic and you don't want to live a life where you're just constantly, I don't know, screwed up once you reach a certain age, you have to deal with these issues and challenges, and you have to overcome them. And yes, they will change you. But it's like you opted into this by choosing to incarnate into physical reality, so you might as well embrace those challenges that you have to face. You might as well go with it. You might as well get on board with it, since it was part of your original intention anyway. But people are free to make up their own minds about that. I just think it's better to be on board with things if possible. So the next section is Thoth Chariot Divinatory Meanings. May represent retracting yourself into a shell to come out for no one until conflict is resolved internally. Sometimes you need to crawl into a hole and cry and not come back out into the public until the tears have been wiped away. A common description of this card is an armored vehicle moving with haste in one particular direction. Blind to the left and right, it moves forward, stopping for nothing. When this card appears, I interpret it as a symbol for victory, likely achieved by progressing at an unwavering speed. Dominion over wild forces, represented by the sphinxes or horses, propels the chariot forward, allowing this progress to happen. If the beasts are rebellious or do not fall in line, there will be conflict and disorientation. Thoth Chariot upright. 1. Victory over adversity. We've come through a difficult period and overcome it. 2. Having the courage to act and follow your goals. 3. Success over previous negative patterns. The sphinxes, sub-elements equals human nature equals court cards, the things that make our personality, and the moon, emotions, subconscious, have been controlled and conquered so we can move ahead with our life now. 4. Focus on self-discipline and internal strengths to follow your goals. 5. Rest and contemplation. 6. Moving towards new and higher goals but remaining centered and protective of yourself. Thoth Chariot reversed. 1. Conflicting feelings about what you really want and you need to resolve before acting. 2. Reckless behavior and being out of control. 3. Inability to act or focus on what we really want to achieve. 4. Ruled by need to dominate others. 5. Not able to connect with one's life purpose. And Thoth Chariot in the Celtic cross spread. All right, here is an image of that, first of all. So you can see what I'm about to be going over. So if it appears in position 1, meaning in this case the heart of the situation, a certain amount of willpower and inner drive is necessary for you to move your life where you want it to be. This has now come to the surface. This has now come to the surface that you must act and courageously. It's a weird way to word that sentence, but that's how they word it. 2. Possible obstacles. Inability to act and focus on your goal through fear or lack of confidence, as if the card shows up in position 2. And if the Chariot shows up in 3, unconscious influences, that sometimes we lack the resolve and decisiveness to overcome our fears/obstacles, lack of self-confidence. If it shows up in 4, recent past, overcoming adversities/obstacles, and you are now in a better place. If it shows up in position 5, hopes and goals, to overcome negative patterns and conflicts to move ourselves into a better place, have a better relationship with ourselves. If it shows up in position 6, short-term future, need to become focused on your inner drive and resolve. If it shows up in position 7, let me fix that real quick. Okay. If it shows up in position 7, our self-image, it means unresolved conflicts can be controlled/dominated too easily. If it shows up in position 8, environment, it means controlling, feeling trapped or dominated. If it shows up in position 9, guidance and warning, it means need to change our environment and become more protective of ourselves in the process of moving our life forward. Do not always let our vulnerabilities show. And if it shows up in position 10, the overall outcome, it means overcoming our fears and moving on to living the life we really want to. And that concludes the article. All right, so before we move on to the next article, I will be taking your comments and questions. I'm also going to take a little break. I'm about to finish my tea, so I'm going to go grab another beverage. And so while I take like a minute or two to go do that, hit me with your comments and questions about this material. If you want to ask questions for tarot readings, we'll be doing that eventually, but I want to stick with the material for now, and I'll respond to those when I return. So I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, return. You guys got some stuff for me to look at. Let's see. Is Connor still here? Does he still have his question? Laughing Lug, what's your opinion on making your own deck by hand? Do you believe it gives you a greater connection to the deck? Also, do you agree with their interpretation of the card? Making one's own deck by hand, connection to the deck. I mean, this would just be my theory, I guess, but I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, hang on, let me fix that. It looks a little blurry. Like, if you put your time and energy into something like that, focusing on the cards for that long with that much, well, attention, then it would seem like it would have to give you a much greater connection to the cards. And especially if you then proceed to indeed use those cards in practice, then the connection will be deepened even more. At least that's my theoretical understanding when I kind of look at the physics and, you know, energy of it. So yeah, I mean, that would be that's my theory. I'd be all for it. Connection. Also, do you agree with their interpretation of the card? Basically, yeah. Let me pull it back up and really focus in on that. I mean, if I didn't agree with it as I was reading it, I would probably have said so, as I typically do, but whoever wrote this stuff really seems to know their stuff. Yeah, this idea of victory over adversity, I agree with. The courage to act to fulfill your goals. Hang on. I don't want to read over all this again. So I'll just see if there's anything I don't agree with. I mean, yeah, pretty much I agree with all of it. Like, thing is, again, I don't know much about the Thoth deck at this point, you know, because I've always worked with the Rider Waite deck. So I don't know how much I'd even be in a position to disagree with that material. But yeah, I'd say overall it strikes me as accurate to the best of my knowledge. Okay, Connor, you have a tarot question. All right, we can get to that soon enough. There's just a couple other things I want to look at real quick. Okay. Well, I don't know. What do you guys want? Do you want to do a tarot reading now, or do you want me to go into the next piece of information, the next article or whatever? Which I'll get that pulled up on my tablet and just ready regardless. So you don't mind either way? Up to me. Okay. Well, for some reason, I don't know, my like intuition or whatever is pulling me more towards going over this book material first. So as long as you guys don't mind, I think I'd like to do that. But then we will definitely get to your question, Connor. And I guess if more people have questions, well, we'll do it kind of like we did it last time. One question between every section, between every article or book entry or whatever. So without further ado, this is the Biddy Tarot ebook, if anyone's wondering. Not the website, but the ebook, which has more stuff in it. Which I do have to hand it to this book at least a little bit. It's like, because as we identified last time, especially, it's like so many of the websites just talk about what the card means, but not why it means what it means. And we really want more of the why, more of the symbolism explained. Well, fortunately, this book actually does talk at least a little bit about that in the beginning of each card, like as it goes over the description of it. So at least, at least we've got another source of that information in that area. But I would love it if I could find more books and material that go over that kind of stuff. I'd absolutely love it. So I do have a bunch of books on tarot actually on my computer. I could go through them and see if maybe some of them are like that, but I don't know. I never really thought of that before. I guess I'll have to do that sometime. Anyway. Chariot description. The Chariot is the last card in the first septenary. The laurel and star crown indicate the highest attainment of man in spiritual evolution. The number 7 is the sacred number, also indicating spiritual attainment. The sign associated with this card is Cancer, and the rune is Raido. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's spelled Raidho. And then it says, indicating movement and travel. The canopy of 6-pointed stars represent the celestial influences at work in this card. The crescent moons on the man's shoulders are outward facing to refer to the formative world. The symbols on his tunic are alchemical symbols representing the spiritual transformation of man. The square is earth, a sign of strength of will. On the chariot itself are wings representing inspiration and the Hindu sign of the union of positive and negative. The black and white sphinxes have the same meaning. You'll notice the charioteer holds no reins, just the wand from the magician card. He controls through strength of will in the same way the magician does. The city is behind him, indicating he has turned his back on civilization and materialism to seek spiritual matters. That's interesting right there, where it talks about sort of a connection to the magician card, because indeed that is a card that talks a lot about willpower, and as does this card, but they both talk about it in quite different ways, right? So I can't think of any additional connections off the top of my head there, but I wonder if there's more of a connection than perhaps we presently realize. What's particularly interesting is the magician is again representing that masculine energy, and the chariot, being a lunar card, maybe is almost representing feminine energy, but it's also being about willpower. I don't know. It scatters my brain a little bit. I usually associate willpower with masculine energy, but could there be like a feminine energy version of willpower? Maybe that's kind of what this card talks about. I don't know. It's just a theory. So, meanings. The chariot represents the positive aspects of the ego. A healthy ego is one that is strong and self-assured. It knows what it wants and how to get it. Sometimes we can get annoyed at someone whose ego is too healthy, but we often turn to that person to lead us through difficult moments. We know he or she won't be wishy-washy. In readings, the chariot often appears when hard control is or could be in evidence. At its best, hard control is not brutal but firm and direct. It is backed up by a strong will and great confidence. The chariot can mean self-control or control of the environment. This card also represents victory. There are many types of wins. The chariot is of the win-lose type. Your success comes from beating the competition to become number one. Such moments are glorious in the right circumstances. The chariot speaks of the conflict between thought and feeling and requires you to maintain a strong focus on balancing the two potentially opposing forces. This card asks you to make some tough decisions, bringing together all facets of the issue and arriving at a solution that is consistent with your personal values and the needs of those around you. This is a time to be clear about what you stand for and how you operate, as you will be tested on how true you stay to yourself this week. This card represents conquest, success, victory through hard work, a well-balanced life, triumph over ill health and money difficulties, an ability to resist temptation indicated, control over forces of nature. Trouble and turmoil will be conquered through your confidence and control. Any success will be a result of applying these factors to the situation. You will wonder if you should pursue a plan or continue a project, but will be driven to do so, and a perplexing dilemma will be resolved for the time being. You could also have an opportunity to be filmed or taped, or to work with film or tape. See, I don't understand that part. I don't know why that applies to the Chariot card. I'm not saying that it doesn't. I'm just not sure why. An opportunity to be filmed or taped, or to work with film or tape. Well, that sounds a lot more like the energy of Neptune, which rules film, movies, the fantasy realm. Of course, if we really want to go out on a limb or branch things out, we could say, well, this is a lunar card, and the moon is reflective, as is Neptune, but that seems like quite the stretch, so I don't know. Plans or schedules will be discussed with your relatives, but you'll feel pressured by time or other commitments. Don't really get why that's an interpretation either. Plans or schedules will be discussed with your relatives, but you'll feel pressured by time or other commitments. Yeah, I don't know. Determination. You need to focus completely. Seize the time, get in the race, and win it. Cultivate the ability to withstand the rigors of what is required. Striving towards your goal can be as satisfying as attaining it. You need to be strong. Maybe we should make a comment here about that, but also about this larger issue of what we see a lot in like the sort of new age and spiritual communities is this idea of let's make it all about how we feel, and let's just try to attract everything we want using the power of our minds and not really take any action. And fortunately, you know, it's not always the case that everyone involved in those areas are saying that. Thankfully, at least some are advising taking action and the importance of taking action, but that is an issue worth addressing. Like, if you think that you can just create everything with your mind, well, while you may technically be correct, in the context of human experience, there are times where you do need to take action. And in fact, acting on that which excites you is a huge part of getting anywhere. You know, you've got to take action. You can't just make it all about feeling and using your mind and expecting things to come to you. There are times, a lot of times, perhaps even depending on the type of person you are in your life and your goals or what your wants and desires, where you need to take the initiative, you need to take action. And so I would stress that and remind people of that. In fact, I would say if you're not taking action on what you want at this time and on that which excites you, you might want to ask yourself why, you know, because really, I don't know how else to put this, but to say that it's really acting on that which excites us that sort of makes things happen. That you could even say, one theory would be gets the attention of our higher mind or higher self, so that then more things can happen, more things can manifest in our lives. And that's what I found to be true with me. So, you know, don't think that just because I've talked about the challenges I've faced in my life in recent times that this doesn't work, because the challenges used to be far worse, I can tell you that. And the only thing that's ever gotten me anywhere, it seems, has been acting on my excitement, and also, yes, working with my energy and vibration and stuff like that, focusing myself into alignment and that sort of thing. But basically speaking, taking action on my excitement is one of the only things that has ever truly, really gotten results. So if you want results, take action. That's my advice. Let's see, what are you guys talking about? Effort is required. Indeed it is. This is really insightful. I'm glad you think so, Connor. Glad to be of help. Can't keep things purely mental. You need to bring your ideas into the physical. Exactly. And we see that in tarot and stuff like that. My question is, starting a new job in a new company, 2 jobs now. What does my new managers and coworkers think of me and my 3 months contract ending in January? Will they extend it? I assume you're wanting a tarot reading. Well, that's not what we're doing here right now. We are analyzing the Chariot card and studying it and its meaning. But I am taking tarot questions between articles. So if you want to wait around for a reading, I can give you one eventually. but otherwise we need to continue. So let's see here, where were we? I'm just going to reread the previous paragraph so we can kind of get caught back up. Determination. You need to focus completely, seize the time, get in the race, and win it. Cultivate the ability to withstand the rigors of what is required. Striving towards your goal can be as satisfying as attaining it. You need to be strong. Adversity, possibly already overcome. Conflicting influences, turmoil, vengeance, success. Possibly a voyage or journey, escape, rushing to a decision. Need to pay attention to details. Urgency to gain control of one's emotions. The idea of emotional control. Interesting. Well, that's a huge issue, and I don't want to get like really deep into it right now, but I just want to say, if you want emotional control, well, remember, emotional control is not the same thing as emotional suppression or suppression of emotion, or at the very least, it should not be the same thing. If you want emotional control, you need to work with your emotions, not against them. And so I'm not even sure if that's what this article is getting at exactly, but this idea of suppressing emotion is really just very unhealthy. And maybe you could argue there are times in life where you do have to be focused on one thing and you can't like let your emotions distract you from it. But the problem I see with most people is not that. The problem I see with most people is they want to be like, oh yeah, let's focus on this one thing and suppress our emotions and just keep them suppressed, and we think we're just never ever going to have to face them. And that's not what happens. Your emotions are indicators, and they're indicators for a reason. They're trying to tell you something. So true emotional control has to come through the allowing of the emotions, not trying to suppress them or anything like that. In fact, it could be said that true enlightenment, it could be, like, this is a theory of mine now, that the most enlightened people are really those who have just allowed themselves to feel everything. They aren't resisting feelings. They aren't afraid of feelings. They're just allowing themselves to feel everything. So that is what I would advise. All right, let's see. Yes, I agree, Laughing Lug. You shouldn't focus on trying to fight your emotions. Rather, you need to integrate all parts of yourself so you are emotionally content. Yes, exactly. It's like, don't make an enemy out of your emotions. Your emotions are just your indicator of how you're doing, you know, vibrationally, spiritually, whatever. Making an enemy out of your emotions would be like making an enemy out of the gas gauge on your vehicle, you know, or the LED indicator light on your phone, perhaps. You know, it's just an indicator. That's all it is. A very important indicator, though. Now, where were we? You will have to use the strength of your will to overcome obstacles. You need to be determined, self-disciplined, and hardworking. If you are, you will triumph over any difficulties or any people who are trying to limit you. This struggle will ultimately temper you and make you stronger. This is an important card for disabled people, advising that a very successful life can be built up within the limitations that have been put on you. You only have to want it enough. Yeah, when you're facing limitations like that, like being disabled, handicapped, or whatever, keep in mind, a lot of times consciousness will incarnate with that kind of intention, that kind of situation to challenge itself in a particular area. You know, people will incarnate with certain deformities to challenge themselves, like maybe missing like a particular limb, you know, an arm or a leg or something. People will incarnate with perhaps severe mental retardation so that they can focus more on the emotional sides of life. or people will incarnate with maybe a lack of emotional understanding so that they can focus more on the intellectual sides of life. And so it's funny, we're talking about integration here, which is very important. But at the same time, it is true that different types of how could we say this, people, I guess, want different types of experiences. But many do want a more balanced experience, though, where, you know, they're incorporating the intellect, the emotions, and everything else. But other people, they want to focus in a particular area, so they'll actually purposefully limit themselves in an area that is like not compatible with what they want to focus upon, or they'll purposefully limit themselves in general so that they can focus upon one particular area. So, and I think that's probably what we're seeing in the case of many handicapped or disabled individuals, is wanting to focus on one particular area. It's a particular kind of challenge. So let's see. On a deeper level, the Chariot is telling you that you must come to terms with your own aggressive impulses. Oh, this is a big deal. Aggression is part of human nature, part of your innate survival mechanism. Aggression cannot be simply suppressed. To do so will only turn it inward on yourself, leaving it thereafter to manifest in the form of physical illness. Aggression can be very destructive, but it is also a powerful energy that can be channeled creatively. Holy shit. That is a highly significant paragraph, because so many people have a misunderstanding, I believe, of this idea of aggression. So first of all, there's nothing negative inherently about aggression. There's nothing even violent inherently about aggression. Aggression is a natural creative impulse and a natural part of life and of human expression. And your aggression must be allowed, you know. Even as I express some of these concepts and stuff that I get passionate about, I'm being aggressive in a sense when I really focus on something, become animated, and allow that passion to flow. I'm allowing that natural aggression to flow. But what so many people do is they make an enemy of aggression. They say, no, we need to be only intellectual or whatever. These people are so completely identified with the intellect and not even realizing that in the process they are basically rejecting other parts of themselves. You can't just disown your humanity, or you can't just disown any part of yourself. Those parts of yourself are parts of you, whether you want them to be or not. And so aggression is highly significant creatively. And for those of you who are wondering, by the way, we will be getting into more of that in the Seth streams that I do on Mondays as we proceed with that material, and some very interesting stuff tying into, I think if I remember correctly, the times of Atlantis. So that should be fun. But anyway, yeah, basically speaking, aggression is a natural creative impulse, and it must be allowed. It should be embraced. It should be channeled. If you hold back your aggression, you're suppressing a part of your energy. And I would especially say this for, let's see, how should I put this? Well, as far as like aggression and assertiveness goes, oh God, hope I don't stir anything up here or get into like a sensitive subject, but I would say this is especially important for males, or at least people who feel naturally of the masculine polarity, who are like naturally more identified with that. So maybe not necessarily always going to be men, of course. Some men can be naturally very feminine, and then some women can be naturally very masculine. But, you know, generally speaking, those who are very much identified with the masculine polarity, it's important for you to own that, and it's important for you to be able to take the initiative with things, be more aggressive and assertive, and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's another factor as well. You got to own that part of your nature. If you suppress it, again, especially in males or in anyone who feels that they're naturally identified with the masculine principle, more so than the feminine, if you suppress that masculine principle within you because maybe you've been taught that it's like bad or wrong or something, or it's like whatever, it's going to lead to problems. You're not going to be that full expression of who you are. And multiple areas of your life are going to suffer. And I've learned this the hard way. And I don't know, we could get into maybe more of that later, but I was basically taught when I was younger that there's so much bad about the masculine energy. And so, yeah, how do you think that fucked up my development as a as a male? It took many years to sort of get myself back. In fact, I think I'm still just getting myself back these days. So, but anyway, yeah, that's my advice there. I know that might be controversial, but well, whatever. Sometimes these things have to be said. And if I'm going to be authentic, then I guess I have to call it like I see it, right? Okay, so now it's just going to give the keywords, and then we'll get into the reverse meanings. Keywords: control, willpower, victory, assertion. Okay. Actually, I need a Kleenex real quick. Allergies have been bugging me a bit lately again. And my heater turned off, so now I have to try to fix that. Ladies and gentlemen, please wait one moment. Okay. I love how everything's just like barely holding together here as I operate. Like the heater could destabilize and all this stuff, but whatever. It's all part of the experience. Okay, so now for the reversed chariot meanings according to this book. Reversed, the chariot suggests that you may be feeling as if you have lost control of current circumstances. Work may be extremely busy and hard to, I think it's supposed to say hard to stay on top of, or you may be in the middle of making some major changes at home. Whatever the case, you are likely to be feeling as if you're being pulled in all sorts of directions and simply living for the moment rather than being able to take time out to plan ahead. While the feeling of loss of power can be quite demoralizing, the key is to grab onto the reins once more and try to steer your situation into some more certain territory. It may be a good time to look at what you can control and what you can't control. Don't allow yourself to be worried about that which is out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. Instead, focus your energies on what is in your control. Examine what you can do to change the situation. At this stage, you need to be able to feel as if you have at least some direction because you currently feel pushed and pulled around in the sea of fate. You are collapsing under pressure and losing your self-control. Your aggression is being channeled in the wrong direction, wildly at other people, at fate, at circumstances. This is a complete waste of your energy and resources. Redefine your aggression as determination and willpower. Stop clinging weakly to unrewarding ideas, habits, people, and objects and move forward. Yeah, I'd say that's fairly important. Like, make sure that you're using your aggression creatively and not letting it sort of go out of control by yourself being out of control inside. If you're out of control within, that's going to manifest in your outer world as well. Life is unbalanced and passions are uncontrolled. There is victory, but it is reached by cheating or unethically. A journey or trip planned is postponed. Failure, to lose at the last minute something otherwise in your grasp. Sudden collapse of plans. Overwhelmed. Failure to face reality. And that idea of facing reality can be a tricky thing because creatively, there has to also come a moment where you aren't focused on reality. Like if you're trying to create something new, you got to focus on that which you are creating. But then there's the other side of that, where there are people who only want to try to focus on what they're creating, and they never face the reality, the basic reality. And it's so funny. It sounds so simple, and yet it's so true. It's basically that. Like people won't be honest about where they are to begin with, and that makes it impossible, or at the very least extremely difficult, to get to where they want to be. You know, you have to know where you are in order to chart the course from where you are to where you want to be. And so that involves being honest about where you are, and yes, that does involve facing reality. So I always want to clarify things whenever it comes to this idea of facing reality, because there's two extremes, and they're both wrong in my opinion. One extreme is that we're only ever focused upon reality. The other extreme is that we're only ever focused upon what we want to create, or a fantasy world or something like that. And both are wrong. There needs to be, you need to do both in order to be correct. Couldn't agree more. It's good to know. All right, so any comments or questions on that material before we move on? And yes, I'll be doing that tarot reading for Connor here in a bit. Can't help but find it slightly amusing that a lot of people will come into these streams and just expect us to be doing like tarot readings, like I'm just reading people's tarot cards all day, as if that is what I would be all about, when I'm really wanting to. These streams are about something much deeper than just reading the cards for people, though that is very significant as well, and I'm happy to do that. It's just funny when people come in here and they literally expect that to be like the subject of the stream. It's just funny to me. Maybe that has something to do with the environment of YouTube or something. I liked it. It seemed as good as the thought site to me, just in a different way. Ah, I see. Yeah. Yeah, that Biddy Tarot ebook is pretty damn good. It is. And I like how it gives both the idea behind the symbolism of the card, and it also gives like the meanings and interpretations of the card. Because really that is what we're after in these streams. Like, we're after both. It's just most of the time we don't get both. All right, so all right, you still here, Connor? You ready for me to do your reading? I can go grab my cards right now, I guess. Like listening. Yeah, I didn't think that you like left or anything, just because of that. I just wanted to be completely sure. All right, so your question is, what is holding you back? All right. Let us explore this side of tarot as well, the side that involves doing readings, perhaps more practical use of it, one could say. But it's like, can you guys see how almost, I don't know, how almost shallow it would be if all we did was readings and we didn't like actually take the time to understand the symbolism of the cards and, you know, why they are what they are and stuff like that. Like, you guys probably know what I mean. It's just, there's so much more to the tarot than how it's so often used, I guess. Using you like a tool, I know, right? It's like, I don't come on here to, I don't know, serve other people, I guess. I come on here to do whatever is most fun for me, and to educate people as well, like those who are interested anyway. But again, I am happy to do readings too, because that is fun. So don't think that I'm not just wanting to point that out. Cheapens the entire thing to just exploit rather than understand them. I know exactly what you mean. So anyway, I'm glad that there are others, though, who have great respect for the tarot. in this way. So, all right. But anyway, that said, we are going to do a reading right now. For Connor in the chat, we would like a Celtic cross forecast on his question, what's holding me back? What is holding him back? What is holding him back? That is the question. All right, let us see. It's mainly because you have more experience. Wait, because I have more experience? Wait, what is because I have more experience? Like my opinion of the tarot, you mean? Let's see, Celtic cross. What is holding Connor back? What is holding him back? So you're saying that you think that I have a deeper appreciation of the tarot and its symbolism and stuff like that because I have more experience with it. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But at the same time, there are people who have been doing it for like decades, and all they're really about is like, I guess, fortune telling. Or at least that's what it appears to be anyway. I don't know. Maybe they do have a deeper appreciation of it, and I just don't know. I'm sure it varies from person to person, of course. You can't just, wow, a card literally fell on the floor. You can't just lump people together, right? Well, I don't know. This card fell on the floor, and it's the Six of Pentacles reversed, so that might have some significance to your reading, but I'm going to keep shuffling. Not quite there yet. What is holding him back? Okay, there we go. Ace of Wands reversed. Knight of Pentacles reversed. Five of Cups reversed. Page of Cups. Four of Swords. The Star reversed. The Hermit. Ten of Cups reversed. Knight of Wands. And Judgment. Alright, let's take a look here. Let me burn and observe. Let's see, and your question is just basically what is holding you back? Well, I mean, if we look at, hang on. It's almost like, okay, it's almost like the cards are saying that you may be working too hard at whatever it is that you're trying to get to. Specifics, if you want to give them, then feel free. Yeah, that'll always, that's basically always helpful, I guess. But yeah, it's like they're saying that you might be working too hard at getting to whatever you're trying to get to. Because it's saying you hope to achieve the Four of Swords. It's saying the near future is the Star reversed, implying feeling imprisoned and not free. The challenge card is the Knight of Pentacles. It did come up reversed. So like too much work in that area. Crossing over the Ace of Wands reversed. So it's like delays, and that's like weighing down your energy, your physical energy. Hopes or fears is Knight of Wands, more talking about physical energy. Getting back to normal, I see. Let's see. The Page of Cups showed up in your past, which would talk about, Page of Cups so often talks about a lover, so a lover in your past. And I know, of course, from other streams you've talked about, stuff like that. So that might be part of the equation. But yeah, the overall message seems to be that you're working too hard at it, and that it would be to your benefit if you could get some rest, especially with the Four of Swords showing up in what you hope to achieve. And not necessarily even literal physical rest, but potentially also just like rest of your mind, and just not trying so hard to get back to normal. Like not trying so hard to get to where you're trying to get to. Especially when so your attitude, your position in the situation is the Hermit, which would almost imply that maybe you're thinking too much about it, if I'm interpreting this correctly. Like you're thinking too much and too hard. You're analyzing things too much. I'm tired of my soul. Yeah, see, here's the thing. I can tell you guys, it's very interesting. Fix that. Is that blur going to write itself? Hang on. Okay. So whenever you feel tired, what is happening, very basically speaking, is that you're in resistance to your non-physical self, the larger part of yourself, your own source energy. Like you only get tired because of resistance. And what's another way of putting this? When you're not acting in alignment with how you really want to act, how that non-physical source energy part of you really wants to act, and what that part of you really wants to do, you will feel tired. If you act in contradiction to that a lot, then you will feel tired, because you're not allowing yourself your full natural energy. And so, I mean, even theoretically, if you could be perfectly in alignment with that, you wouldn't ever even need to sleep. And I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that there are yogis and people who become meditation masters who need very little to no, perhaps even sleep. They don't even really need to sleep because they're always so in alignment with that. So basically tiredness is resistance. And if you're experiencing a lot of it, it's because you're not going with what that non-physical source energy part of you really wants to go with. And so figure out what it is that you want and go with it. Act more in accordance with that would be my advice. So what else can we say here? Outside force coming in, 10 of Cups reversed. Wonder if that could be feeling like other people are weighing you down, perhaps, or maybe even a family setting or something. I'm not sure. Judgment for the outcome card. How does that factor in this situation? Let me think. Let's see. The question is, what's holding you back? Well, I guess it could be saying that there may come a time soon where you have to basically, do that alchemy. You got to take the light of your awareness to the deep, dark, unconscious realms. You got to raise that buried content and reintegrate it into your consciousness. So whatever your resistance is will eventually have to be looked at. And as you look at it, bring it into your awareness and make peace with it, you reintegrate it. And that should basically set you free in the way that you're wanting to be set free. And that's the outcome card. So that's saying that's the most likely trajectory of this situation, is eventually you're going to come to that point, of judgment, where it's time to look at that stuff, embrace it fully, and essentially reintegrate it. Judgment is ruled by the Sun and Pluto, I believe. 99.9% sure of that. But I've definitely seen it associated, at least with the Sun and Pluto. Well, the Sun is the light of our awareness, and Pluto is deep, dark, and conscious stuff. And so it's about bringing that light to that Pluto darkness. So there you go. Old people from the past maybe weighing me down. Yeah, that's a common thing. So let yourself feel that. And anyway, yeah, that's about it. Do you have any questions about your reading? No, it's funny because I used to in these tarot streams, like the first couple of them or something, I would do like as many tarot readings for people as they wanted. But I'm realizing more and more as of late that if I'm truly going to be authentic, then I've got to stick to my plan and do like what it is that I'm really wanting to do, while I sort of work with what other people want as well, and then let those who are interested in, all of that gravitate to the streams. Sounds good to me. Thanks. You are welcome. You are welcome. All right. So I guess we shall continue now with our analysis of the Chariot card. So let's see. I guess we're going to do an internet search and see what comes up. Also, I don't know if that that one book that we got the PDF of last time with the Lovers stream, I don't know if it has something on the Chariot. It probably does, though. Maybe we can look at that later. I think maybe we should space it out, because that had some really great information on the Lovers card, and so I bet it would have also very great information on the Chariot, and so maybe we'll save that for part 2 of the stream. I can do that as well. Okay, yeah, excellent. I think it's actually still on my tablet. Like if I open up, I'll just see if it is right now, Adobe Acrobat Reader. Yeah, it's on here. File name 78.pdf. After some internet searches, don't have all the good stuff. Exactly. I know, right? It's like that was some damn good stuff last time. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, we'll probably save that for like maybe an hour or 2 into part 2 of this stream today. Unless you guys really want it sooner, then we could do it sooner. But yeah, it's like, let's try to space it out a bit. The material was so delicious last time. I just wanted to devour all of it. Chariot card. Yeah, I mean, I do have these tarot books on my computer. I should really look into them and see if there's anything, deeper about the tarot in any of them. It's just there's so many. I don't know which ones to look at, but anyway. All right, we'll maybe look at Biddy Tarot later since we looked at their ebook already. Second result is trustedtarot.com. Let's go there. Sometimes we do come across websites, though, that have some fairly good information, though, don't we? It's certainly the exception and not the norm, but it does happen occasionally. And the rest of the time is usually just a regular sort of surfacey interpretations, but I guess ultimately it all has value, right? So, the Chariot. Journey, progression, strong character, success from effort, transportation, and movement. The Chariot's meaning. You have some hard work ahead of you. It may be resolved quickly, but the Chariot is a powerful card, and the labor you are undertaking will probably trend towards long and difficult. You will quite possibly experience rough roads, long uphill slopes, dead ends, and painful setbacks. A good outcome is only assured if the card is upright, but do not let yourself lose hope. This hard road will instill in you a strength of purpose, the ability to overcome through organization and endurance, and the confidence possessed only by those who have done what they have thought they could not. Harnessed correctly, few forces can stand against an individual like that. Past. Your character has been tested by the tendency to protect your own interests and ego. The struggle has strengthened you, and recent events have given you a chance to accomplish your victory. Present. Good news is coming, and you will better the opposition in a decisive victory. Future. Continue your struggle, and the end you seek will be achieved. Honor, acclaim, and recognition are all possible outcomes for you if you do not quit. Again, it is my strong opinion that there are many more potential interpretations of the Chariot card in each of those positions than what is listed there. Yes, no key interpretation. The Chariot reveals some sort of journey with a positive connotation. This journey will most likely be a progression of some sort. It could also be the final success you have been working for. The confidence, direction, and victory shown through this card indicate that the answer is yes. All right. Next up is keen.com. Let's take a look. Are you in control? Did you just win big? Have you finally reached a new level of accomplishment? Are you being handed control of a big project? The Chariot is the tarot card most associated with victory and control. When you see this card in a tarot reading in times of struggle, understand that when Caesar conquered an opposing army, his victory parade made the years of struggle worth it. If you're not yet victorious, learn to appreciate your struggle, as the celebration you can have will be even more enjoyable with your challenges still fresh in your mind. If you recently accomplished a great task, be sure to revel in your enjoyment of the moment. There are no guarantees of future enjoyment, so soak up the feeling of pure triumph. I feel like I should make a note here that people can take this idea of struggle way too far, and they do all the time, in my opinion. This idea of, I guess we see it a lot with entrepreneurial people who just want to grind and grind and grind and grind and work and work and work and work. And they're basically programmed with this very strong belief that says you've got to work hard and struggle in order to get success. Now, that is certainly a perfectly valid belief and perspective and experience within its own framework. And I'm not necessarily discouraging that. But what I am wanting to point out is that that's really not the optimal position in most, if not all cases. The optimal position is that you are acting on your excitement, and thus, therefore, the work or the struggle or the grind will be something that is absolutely very fun for you. And it won't feel like work or a struggle or a grind. And so if there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, then it'll be done in joy. It'll be a labor of love. And that way you know that you're doing what you're really meant to be doing and not doing something that you only think that you are meant to be doing or that you only want to believe that you are meant to be doing. That's the real trap that so many people fall into. And of course, we could talk for hours about that probably, but that's it. That's it basically. Even like with my doing these streams right here, right now, I'm sure that to a lot of people, this would seem insane and like a lot of hard work. This is not hard work for me at all. In fact, I look forward to doing these streams more than almost anything else in my life right now. It's fun. It's exciting for me. I am not interested at all in hard work. And I'm even a Capricorn, and I'm saying that. Was I always this way? No. I had to learn some very hard lessons as a Capricorn when I was younger, that basically hard work is not all that it's cracked up to be. But any fellow Capricorns or really any earth signs out there will know what I mean. Like, we have to learn the hard way, or at least, well, I did. I sure as hell did. But yeah, like people might even wonder, with the Seth streams in particular, how can you sit there and read for several hours and be all right? Like, oh, that's difficult. And I say, not really. Not really. Not when I'm in my joy, not when I'm in my passion. It's basically, it's a ton of fun. So And if you guys notice, it takes me many hours to even get depleted when I'm doing these streams. It's because I'm following my excitement and I'm being naturally refueled and replenished by that, unless I was like sleep deprived to begin with or something, So these are all very important things to be borne in mind. Because it's your passion. Yes, exactly. Like doing these live streams right now and about these specific subjects, tarot and the Seth material and the other stuff that we have talked about, is basically some of the most exciting stuff that I could possibly take action on at this time in my life. And so indeed it is my passion. Will it evolve over time? I'm sure it will, but for now that's what it is. And that's why I can keep going for hours and hours, and it takes forever for me to get tired when doing this. Whereas other days of the week, that's not always the case. But anyway. Well, because it makes it easy for you to learn because you find it fun and interesting. Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's why I say, like, on the subject of tarot in particular, like anyone who was wanting to study tarot and like get into it, I would say my advice is really only do it if it truly is intensely exciting for you. Like if you really want to become good at reading tarot cards, because there is so much study and memorization involved, as you can imagine. Like it took me many, many months of intensive study and memorization before I could even get like kind of good at reading the cards. So I don't know. It's probably like a year or something before I could really like do tarot readings and not need to like look anything up or whatever. And even then, like there were still things so much I didn't know, and even now there's still so much I don't know. So yeah, it's something you have to have a passion for if you want it to flow easily and be good at it, I guess. Way too many cards to remember. Yeah, no, right? It's like you think astrology is hard, memorizing the 12 signs and what they mean. In tarot, you got 78 cards, It's like, this isn't quite a correspondence, but it's almost like each card of tarot is like its own astrological sign in a way. And you have to memorize all this stuff about it in order to read tarot well, basically speaking. So, yeah, and I love it. Sometimes I'll see like on YouTube or whatever, something will be like, "Oh, learn how to read tarot in like a week or a day or something." And I'm thinking, what the hell is that? There's no shortcut to this stuff. But anyway, good luck with that indeed, right? So, but at the same time, I'm not wanting to make it sound like a big struggle or anything, because again, if you're truly excited about it, then it won't be a struggle. The many long hours of study will be like just any kind of fun for you. And that's how it is for me. I'm not interested in doing anything that's not fun. So, where were we? A king stands triumphant in his chariot. It has a blue awning decorated with white stars, but he chooses to stand at the very front of his ride, and the view of him is from directly head on. He wears a decorative suit of ceremonial armor, a breastplate, frilled forearm medal, and gold belt that has astrological symbols matching the pattern of his kilt. He carries a small scepter in his hand and wears a gold crown with a mounted star floating above his head. Both shoulders have the face of the moon in profile. The front of his chariot is adorned with a winged shield. Pulling the chariot are two sphinxes, a black one on the left and white one on the right. They are in repose. Behind him are the spires of the kingdom's castles under a golden sky. I'm going to look at those astrological symbols a little more closely right now. Just to find the card again. Let's see, where is it? Ah, there it is. Yeah, there's a sign of Cancer on there. There's a like crescent moon on there. I was bending the card back to flat, if you guys are wondering. Huh. Looks like the symbol for the north node on the left side of the belt. And I'm not sure what the other two are on the belt itself. And then below that, there are more. I feel like I sort of recognize some of them, but I don't know. Some look like Mercury, then one almost looks like Neptune. I think I saw another that almost looked like Venus. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting stuff, though. So, let's continue. Oh, and I guess actually it would be appropriate if I showed those symbols right now. So hopefully it focuses for us. There we go. Yep, there they are. The various symbols. Okay. The king here is in his moment of triumph. He has just arrived from a great victory and has paused to survey his ever-growing kingdom. The sphinxes which pull the chariot indicate a triumph over a foreign land, as Caesar benefited from the conquest of Egypt. And yet the sphinxes themselves represent the unsolvable riddle. The black and white sphinxes mimic the black and white pillars of the High Priestess card, representing knowledge as a key to victory and conquest being predicated on solving the riddle first. The star on his crown is the star from tarot card number 17, the star, indicating he had great hope and inspiration in making his conquest. Huh. That's fascinating also when we consider that the star is card number 17, this is card number 7, and so potential connection there. However, the Chariot's Kabbalistic correspondence, if we overlay it on the Tree of Life, if we overlay like the cards of the major arcana on the Tree of Life, would be card 18, the Moon card, ruled by Pisces and the planet Neptune, which is funny because there are indeed multiple connections there, including this being a lunar card, this being a card of the moon, and even indeed ruled by the moon, and it corresponds to the moon card. So I don't know, maybe we'll get to this more when we get to the second half of the major arcana, but it's like the real question is, what is that saying then about this card being connected to the moon card? You know, this card being one about sort of having a healthy ego and determination, stuff like that, and the moon card being about all these nebulous and hidden things, you know, everything from the supernatural to the spiritual, and also the idea of like hidden enemies and stuff like that. And I guess it's a classic one you hear with that card. So I'm not entirely sure what those connections are, but they're definitely worth considering. And hopefully we can find out more about that one day. So the next section is meaning in past, present, and future positions. Every tarot reading evolves from cards in the past position through to the present position and on into the future position. The meaning of a card can be quite different in various positions. Again, I have to state that that is not the case. Not every tarot spread, not every kind of tarot spread has past, present, and future. We seem to encounter this every time. But anyway, when the Chariot is in the past position, you had a triumph in the past that has led you to where you are now. Sometimes early success in life can leave ordinary good times down the road a little hollow. A good start on life might have given you some material advantages that are creating your current comfort, ... or dilemma. If the Chariot is in your reading's present position, you are experiencing a great triumph at the moment. This might be something for which you have waited, I guess it's supposed to say waited for months or years. It might be something that was just handed to you and now you are feeling insecure about being in control. There are often mixed feelings that come with getting what you wanted, as an unease about the change inherent in this transformation makes one lose touch with seeing the possibilities. The future is the position in which the Chariot card exerts its strongest energy. When this card is in your future, your reading can fill you with confidence that a goal you seek is attainable. A battle for control will be is any reading when it lands in the future position. This idea of goals is considered as well because it's a combination with this card, and of course it would, But that's another mistake that people make a lot, I think, is they want to make things all about the goal that they're reaching, and they think that oh, a lot of people actually believe that there's even this saying or a quote or something of that goes something like, what even is it? The most important thing about goals is that you have some. Well, I actually disagree, because again, if you're truly following your excitement, then your goals will naturally develop. Like, you don't have to set goals in order to get success, and that's a particular mode of activity and a particular framework that is based upon a very specific idea of what success is. And so I actually disagree with this whole idea of setting goals and stuff like that. Like, having a goal that is based on your excitement and on what you want, now that's completely natural, I believe. That's completely in harmony with your true intention. But to just say, oh, I have to set this goal this week and this goal next week. I mean, if that's fun for you, then by all means do it. But otherwise, it's kind of missing the point. The point of life is expansion and the journey of that expansion and the joy along the way as well. And what we learn, things like this. I guess we could say a number of things about that, but there's that statement, the joy is in the journey. Well, it's so true. So my strong recommendation to people is don't get too caught up in goals. If anything, look at your goal as your excuse to go on a journey that you want to go on. The goal should be flexible. If you try to set it in stone and continuously work towards it, you can end up having tunnel vision. Yes, absolutely. That's a good point too. Like, if you try to make up your mind thinking, oh no, it has to be this one goal, then you're cutting yourself off from other possibilities. That's not even how the universe works, It's like, so yeah, I absolutely agree. If you're going to set a goal, don't make it inflexible. So anyway, where were we? All right, card combinations. No card should stand alone in your reading. A tarot reading is a spread of cards that each influence the other cards spread about. Indeed. The relationship of the Chariot to the High Priestess is undeniable and underscores the tarot's emphasis on wisdom being the path to victory. Let's let that sink in for a moment. The relationship of the Chariot to the High Priestess is undeniable and underscores the tarot's emphasis on wisdom being the path to victory. The intuition and confidence of the king is reflected by his relationship to the Star card. The Chariot is number 7 in the tarot deck, and the Star is number 17. When either or both the High Priestess or the Star are in a reading with the Chariot, your victory is more defined and blessed, satisfying hopes on a profound level. Cards with the number 7 in them accompanying the Chariot in your reading add to the potency of this card. The 7 of Wands emphasizes the battle you are fighting and its importance in enjoying the fruits of your victory. The Seven of Pentacles slows down a coming victory, but only ensures it will be that much more impressive. The Seven of Cups makes the victory of the Chariot one that you have dreamed about, but be careful here, as this reading may be delivering the proverbial too much of a good thing. When the Seven of Swords card appears in a reading with a Chariot, your quick wits will bring an unlikely victory. Let's focus in on this a bit more. I'll give my interpretation of these as well. So, if the Seven of Wands appears with a Chariot in a reading, this article is saying that it emphasizes the battle you are fighting and its importance in enjoying the fruits of your victory. Yes. The Seven of Wands, the card of sort of being above it all, like standing your ground against opposition from other people, especially like public opposition, and like using your willpower to stand your ground. So, let's see, emphasizes the battle you're fighting, supports enjoying the fruits of your victory. I would say it would emphasize your, not just that, but your willingness to stand your ground and not be swayed by the sort of demands and whatnot of others. If you get the Seven of Wands. Seven of Pentacles slows down a coming victory, but only ensures it will be that much more impressive. Seven of Pentacles. Why can I not picture that in my head? This is so weird. Like, no matter how long I study tarot, if I think of like just the name of the card, I can't always picture it. Unless it's a major arcana card. Let's see, the Seven of Pentacles. Oh, right, that card. Where you're sort of standing back and looking at the work that you've done thus far. That's a really complicated card, though. There's like so many different interpretations I've read. And this says, slows down a coming victory, but only ensures it will be that much more impressive. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. I'm not even sure how I'd interpret those two together. But I guess that makes sense. Yeah, there's a sort of slowing down of things. The Seven of Cups makes the victory of the Chariot one that you have dreamed about, but be careful here, as this reading may be delivering the proverbial too much of a good thing. Seven of Cups, the card where you have many different choices, and it appears that the figure in the card, at least, is very confused and overwhelmed by the choices and images before him. So, makes the victory of the Chariot one that you dreamed about, but be careful here, as this reading may be delivering the proverbial too much of a good thing. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, because the connection with, like, dreaminess and otherworldliness of that card, and there being all these different things, the idea of overwhelmment, which is not officially a word, but the idea of like being overwhelmed, too much of a good thing. Yeah, makes sense. But I mean, like a reading like that, I don't know, could also mean that you're not even sure where to direct your willpower. Like if you get the Chariot and the Seven of Cups, you have like all these different options. It could be scattered focus, which is a big problem when you're trying to get anywhere, basically. The more you divide your attention between different things, the more you divide your power, you split off your power. Energy flows where attention goes, as they say. And lastly, when the Seven of Swords card appears in a reading with a Chariot, your quick wits will bring an unlikely victory. Yes, Seven of Swords, the card of sort of getting away with something, and can also talk about individuality and going against the flow and stuff like that. Well, I would say in that, your quick wits will bring an unlikely victory. Well, that's one interpretation, but it could also be that your sense of individuality and going against the flow was very strong and powerful with the Chariot in there, and that's what's going to get you to your victory, if there's going to be a victory. So, moving on. There are some cards in the deck that have a core misery to them. When they appear in a reading with the Chariot, their edge is removed somewhat. The Nine of Swords and Death are two cards that have little redemption to them. I disagree. The Chariot delivers some much-needed light and hope to an otherwise gloomy reading. Like, okay, maybe the Nine of Swords doesn't have a whole lot of redemption to it. though even it can. But the Death card has a whole lot of positive aspects, at least in my opinion and interpretation. And of course, we'll get to that in what, I guess 6 weeks, because it's card 13 of the Major Arcana. There's a lot of good stuff going on with the Death card, potentially at least. Depends on the reading, of course. Like with the Nine of Swords, yes, that's typically going to talk about things that like worry you, trouble you. You know, it's the classic Insomniac card. It's going to talk about all kinds of disturbing past memories and trauma and stuff like that. But sometimes, at least from stuff that I've read and studied, it can indicate sort of spiritual awakening. It can indicate getting in touch with one's humanity, you know, and I think that's very plausible. And the Death card is like, don't even get me started. The Death card is all about that natural process of breaking down what's not working and creating something that does work, like death and rebirth, and deconstruction and reconstruction. You know, it's ruled by Scorpio, the sign of transformation. So, you know, alchemy, transmuting one's energy, and indeed transforming from something that is not working to something that is working, or even just transformation in general. So there's all kinds of, and also deep emotional healing is another big part of that. And talking about getting in touch with your psychological processes and drives and things of that nature. So there's all kinds of good stuff going on with the Death card. It's silly to me when people think that that's not the case. So let's continue. When any of the kings of the tarot deck are in a reading that includes the Chariot, you are about to get more control over some aspect of your life than you may need. The King of Swords delivers you control over how people talk about you and gives a consistency to how everyone perceives you. The King of Wands, pairing up with the Chariot, assures that a creative effort or a project at work or school will garner attention and acclaim for you. The King of Pentacles is an assurance that the coming Chariot victory will be a financial gain, if not a windfall for you. The King of Cups is a card that signals a mastery of one's emotions. Paired with a Chariot and your tarot reading paves the way for a love conquest of soulmate magnitude. Are you ready for your victory lap? Let me give my interpretation of that. Let's see. King of Swords delivers you control over how people talk about you and gives a consistency to how everyone perceives you. So if the King of Swords appears with Chariot, they're saying that's what it basically means. Well, I don't know. I would think that if the King of Swords appeared with the Chariot, it could also mean a control over one's mental processes, a control over one's ability to think logically and think clearly, and to think in a very structured, logical way. And that might be how you get your victory, and like using your willpower in connection with that. And it says the King of Wands, pairing up with the Chariot, assures that a creative effort or a project at work or school will garner attention and acclaim for you. That makes sense. Will garner attention and acclaim for you. But I don't know, because the King of Wands is also going to talk a lot about willpower, indeed, being a fire card. And talk about the will and taking action. And so the emphasis would just be that much stronger on those things, I would think, if that appeared with the Chariot card. Like if you get a victory or whatever, it's going to come from willpower and taking action, which blends exceptionally well with the Chariot card. I'm surprised they didn't mention that in this article. The King of Pentacles is an assurance that the coming Chariot victory will be a financial gain, if not a windfall for you. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And also, I would say just the idea of being very hardworking and disciplined and stuff like that. Because, well, the hardworking part is more of the King of Pentacles, but disciplined, you could almost connect with both cards in a way. At least I think so. The King of Cups is a card that signals a mastery of one's emotions, paired with a Chariot, and your tarot reading paves the way for a love conquest of soulmate magnitude. That does make a lot of sense, yes. That makes a lot of sense. But the King of Cups is also going to talk about, all this emotional stuff, emotional intelligence, the emotional world, sort of control over, or like natural control over one's emotions, like allowing one's emotions control through being in touch with them. And that connects to the Chariot in many ways. And so maybe, I mean, I don't know, if I got those two cards, I'd be tempted to think like a lot of willpower and determination resting on very stable emotions, you know, rather than so much vulnerability as the Chariot card can almost imply, like deep beneath oneself. Like, how do I even say this? The Chariot card referring to someone would be someone who is not showing that vulnerability, but who still has it beneath the surface. Well, if that appeared with the King of Cups, that would imply that instead, in this case, that person is in touch with their vulnerable side, and that's actually where they're getting their great strength and determination and willpower to move forward, perhaps. That would just be a theory of mine anyway. And that concludes that article. All right. Any comments or questions? Wow, I can't believe it's been almost 2.5 hours already. Time's just flying by with this stuff. Let's see. I think I got a new subscriber. Yay. Oh, nice. I think I'm probably also going to have to take a quick bathroom break here in a bit. It's pretty standard. I didn't think it was that good. Yeah, it's true. And like very almost oversimplified at times too. But it is what it is, I guess. All right, so I'll see what's coming up next, but yeah, then I'm gonna go take a bathroom break. Where were we? Next up is the Wikipedia entry on it, so we can analyze that. All right, I'll be right back in like 1 minute. All right, I am back. Let's see. Wait, what are you guys saying? Let me fix that blur. Wait, what are you saying, Connor? You mean something 2 hours? Yeah, we've been live for 2.5 hours nearly at this point. And hello, Sarah Yang. Welcome to the stream. And now let us continue. So this is the Wikipedia entry on the Chariot card. And I guess I'll communicate this. Hi, reader in the US. It seems you use Wikipedia a lot. That's great. This Saturday, we humbly ask you to help Wikipedia. Okay, I guess Wikipedia is asking for donations right now, just to throw that out there. I'll just relay that for anyone who's able to help them out. The Chariot is a 7th trump or major arcana card in the most traditional tarot decks. It is used in game playing as well as in divination. All right. Connor, you're drinking again? Is that what it is? I see. I see. I'm so sorry, Wikipedia, but if there's one thing I don't have, it's generally money. I shouldn't say that because that's going to encourage a negative belief, but well, it's my reality thus far, but I expect it to change and improve. All right, anyway, whatever. Chariot card. Description. A powerful princely figure sits in a swift chariot, pulled usually by 2 sphinxes or horses. There is often a black and white motif. For example, one of the steeds may be black and the other white. These symbolize balance, or as some say, positive and negative working in tandem. The figure may be crowned or helmeted and is winged in some representations. The figure may hold a sword or wand or other masculine symbol. The Thoth Tarot deck has the figure controlling 4 animals. As the 7th card of the major arcana, the symbolic association of its number in numerology would suggest that the Chariot should be at rest. This holds true in the traditional tarot decks, such as the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, the Tarot of Marseille, and the Thoth Tarot deck, but has been largely ignored in many modern interpretations which depict the Chariot in motion or charging. For example, Tarot of the Old Path, Tarot of Dreams, and Tarot Grand Lux. In the minor arcana, the theme of rest can be seen in the 7 of Coins from the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. It would therefore be reasonable to assume that the Charioteer represents defense and not aggression. An example of another defensive card from the same deck with the same number is the 7 of Wands. Let me think about this some more real quick. So the idea of not moving has been largely ignored in many modern interpretations of this card. And then it goes on to say in the minor arcana, the theme of rest can be seen in the 7 of Coins from the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. 7 of Coins. Rider-Waite Tarot deck. Fascinating. It would therefore be reasonable to assume that the Charioteer represents defense and not aggression. An example of another defensive card from the same deck with the same number is the 7 of Wands. Huh. That is an interesting, take on that. I've never thought of that before. A potential implication that the Chariot card is about defending oneself rather than being aggressive. So it's interesting. Let's see. Can you ask a question? You mean a tarot question? Well, I will take those between articles if you are all right with waiting a little bit. If you don't mind waiting, then yes. So let's see. In this article's example, Rider-Waite Tarot deck imaged the mallet or gavel on the Chariot's coat of arms as a Masonic symbol representing self-control. It has been suggested the square on the Charioteer's chest is a representation of the Kabbalistic view of the 4 worlds. Although the sky is bright, there is a canopy of stars above the Charioteer's head. This shows how celestial influences from above guide him to a victory. Interpretation signals decision-making, focus, and determination, a willingness to take the reins. Depicted by Freya, the Nordic goddess in Doreen Virtue's goddess cards, and is often called the Centurion or Victory. Lesson imparted is that of balance in the way in which the querent uses this newfound energy. If already at this stage, that is the card falls in the present. I think that's supposed to say that is if the card falls in the present. The Chariot calls upon the querent to tread cautiously and utilize his or her newly asserted power with discipline and care, paying attention to detail and refusing the temptation to be aggressive in achieving his or her aims. In a way, it leads nicely into the message imparted by the following card, Strength. Yeah, I thought of that a couple times as we've been going over this material today. I thought, there seem to be some interesting parallels between this card and the next card, Strength, which we'll get into more next week. But, Strength is also about using one's willpower, but in a different way, or more so, I guess, using the intellect, basically speaking, the intellect to control one's darker drives and emotions and stuff like that. But both are, have this idea of like willpower or control or whatever. Let's see, hello, Karina. You get the Strength card a lot in Temperance. Interesting. I want to ask another question, but I feel greedy, so I might use my deck to do it. Well, I mean, you can ask another question. Like, we'll just, we'll take them on a first come, first serve basis between articles. So after this one, we'll answer Sarah's question. Then if you, Connor, want to ask one after that, we can do that then. Alternative decks. Other names for the card are the Centurion or Victory. In the Vikings Tarot, this card depicts Thor on his chariot ride across the sky. In the Wildwood Tarot by Mark Ryan, this card is called the Archer. In the Greenwood Tarot by Mark Ryan, this card is also called the Archer. Funny when you just mentioned getting Temperance as well, ruled by Sagittarius, and the connection with the idea of the Archer there, but anyway. In the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot by Louis Martini, this card is called Dance. In the New York Tarot by Gianna Siri, this card is called Transport. In the X/1999 Tarot version, or X/1999 Tarot version made by Clamp, the Chariot is Sorata Arisugawa, or Arisugawa. In the Osho Zen Tarot deck, the Chariot is represented by the Awareness Major Arcana card. Let's see. Maybe do one question between each article. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, basically, is I'll do one question between each article so things stay structured and we get loads of reading done today. Exactly, that's... You took the words out of my mouth. That is my exact intention. All right, I want to thank you because last week I asked you a question about my top 3 colleges. So I did get into a good college for my major, I think. So, oh, that's awesome, Sarah. I'm happy to hear that. You are very welcome. I'm really happy to hear that. So it would appear that the reading was accurate. So I guess I think that's the end of this. Yeah, that's the end of this Wikipedia entry on this card. Some are longer than others on Wikipedia, I've noticed. But all right, I guess it's Sarah's turn to ask a question. So what is your question? We shall do a reading. Also, does anyone have any comments or questions about that particular material, the Wikipedia entry? What is blocking me from my happiness? All right. Short but informative, I agree. All right, so let's get these set up. I kind of like the dichotomy or balance created by like reading an article and then doing a tarot reading and then reading an article and doing a tarot reading. It's a nice way to keep it like mixed up and interesting. Anyway, all right, so We would like a Celtic cross forecast for Sarah in the chat. Her question is, what is blocking me from my happiness? All right, let's see what we get. What is blocking her from her happiness? That's like weirdly similar to the question we had earlier, isn't it? Kind of. Maybe there's a, I don't know, collective energy going around where people are concerned about blockages at this time. People have similar problems. And this would appear so. Makes sense when you consider that we are all connected, though. We are ultimately a collective consciousness. We're ultimately one consciousness. This must be it. Well, the good news, I should feel happy, but I don't. Well, I can guarantee you that with all feelings, there is a perfectly valid reason why you feel the way that you feel. So let's see here. Okay, we got the Queen of Pentacles, 4 of Cups reversed, 9 of Cups, 3 of Cups reversed, 2 of Cups, 4 of Wands, oh wow, Page of Wands, the Devil, boy, the Star reversed, and the 8 of Swords. Okay, let's see here. And what is blocking you from your happiness? Let's see. Well, I can definitely see that in the reading itself, first of all. 4 of Cups being your challenge card. Talking about like feeling unsatisfied even with what the universe has given you thus far. Although sometimes that card can also mean that the universe is trying to give you something like to make you happy or whatever in this case, but you're not seeing it. And you need to find it and reach out and take it. Let's see, what else? Well, getting the 2 of Cups in your hope to achieve position is a very strong indicator. Perhaps what you're really wanting, basically speaking, is a deep connection, probably with another person. But if not with another person, then maybe with something creative, some project or something that you're really interested in. Yeah, like I think what you really want is connection, probably. I mean, I guess it's what we all want, but it's showing up in your reading in particular. It's so draining. Wait, what's draining? Your near future card, though, is the 4 of Wands, which is really good news, talking about happiness, harmony, celebration. I cut off my ex, but I love him. Well, there you go. That's probably it then. You did get the 3 of Cups reversed for the past, which would imply the idea of hurt feelings and disappointment and stuff like that. So that's factoring in here, it would appear. Oh, and even how your 4 of Cups challenge card crosses over the Queen of Pentacles for your current outside influences. That could be saying that you feel a need for security, for inner security, because you don't just have the Queen of Pentacles, which talks about that, but you've got 4 of Cups and 4 of Wands. That's the 4th house, which is going to talk about safety and security. So yeah, you probably, like, cultivating that would probably help you allow your happiness much more. Let's see what else. Spend a lot of time with friends, but I really need a security. Interesting. Well, that would make sense with also the 3 of Cups reverse showing up in the past, as if saying that, you know, So the Three of Cups normally, when it's upright, is about spending time with friends and social gatherings and stuff like that. And so its reversal could almost be saying like maybe you need to take a bit of a break from that. Like there's too much, or there's been too much of that, and you should focus on security. Let's see. Your attitude or position is the Page of Wands, which would almost imply that like there may be some sudden inspiration that helps you unblock your happiness, that helps bring you back to your happiness. So I would say pay attention to that. Now this is a big clue here. The star reversed in your hopes or fears is saying that you're afraid of something imprisoning you. You're afraid of something making you feel not free. And so if you can figure out what that is and address that situation, then perhaps you can allow your happiness a lot more. So yeah, that's a big indicator right there. It's your past. I see. Yeah. That is a challenging thing. Now, you also, on that note, have indeed the Devil card for the outside force coming in. And I would say, especially in this context, that's going to talk about even more feeling of like imprisonment or feeling not free and stuff like that. And this is something coming at you. So, I've got to call it like I see it, like not to, I don't know, give you bad news or scare you or anything, but it almost looks like maybe the past might try to repeat itself in some way, or at least this feeling of being not free is drawing to you that which is more of a vibrational match to it, which is what always happens anyway. Whatever vibration we're in, we attract more to us like that. So I would say, really try to figure out how to feel more free if you want to change that development, because you do have the Devil card coming at you. The devil is what do they say in the details or whatever. Funny because I'm a Capricorn, Devil card represents Cappies. I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Yep. The Devil card is all about that Capricorn energy in so many ways. Let's see. Wait, my question for the intermissions was future telling me. All right, we shall get to that at the next intermission, Connor. And that should be very interesting. But anyway, back to Sarah's reading. So your final outcome card, though, is the Eight of Swords. And this is continuing even more with this theme of feeling imprisoned, and feeling not free. So it's huge in your reading. Like at this point, it looks like that's the most likely trajectory that you're on. So again, be aware of that and do what you can to rectify that situation. But it's interesting because the Eight of Swords also has this connotation of transformation, and not just because it is an 8, which corresponds to that energy of Scorpio, which is all about transformation, but also like, I don't know, this might just be my theory, but when I look at the Eight of Swords, I see like, it reminds me of like a cocoon, right? Being in a cocoon that eventually one will transform from. So I guess if I were to put a positive spin on your reading, that would be it. That, even if you attract many more challenges to you that make you feel not free in some way, at least it's eventually going to lead to a should be profound transformation for you. So that's my positive spin to some of the upcoming difficulties that we see here. And you may would like to transform into a better person. Well, the interesting thing about life and the way the universe seems to work is that even if you avoid doing that yourself or don't know how to do that yourself, life will pretty much do that for you. I mean, some people are more stubborn than others. I know us Capricorns are highly stubborn, but if you're at least open to it to begin with, then just like letting life sort of set you up for it will give you what you're looking for. It'll help you become a better person in that way. Let's see. Yes, welcome back, Luminiferous. I hope I achieve my inner peace. Yeah, that, I think we saw that in the Two of Cups as well. Hope to achieve card. Yeah, and you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So let's see here. Yeah, I would say inner peace comes most easily by surrender, surrendering to what is, surrendering to the present moment, and also just letting yourself to feel, or letting yourself feel, allowing yourself to feel things, allowing yourself to feel anything and everything that you feel, as we mentioned earlier a bit. Let's see. May I have a reading, please? Yes. Let's see. Currently in line is Connor, so we'll be doing a reading for him at the next break, and then Luminiferous, yours can come at the break following that. So, with that said, it looks like it's time to get into the next article. And it looks like won't be too much longer from now until I'll be going to have my lunch, and then I'll come back after an hour or two, and we'll dig into part 2 of the Chariot card. Which actually, yeah, now I'm wondering, are we going to have time then for more readings? I don't know, are you guys going to be here later? Because, yeah, we're going to hit the 3-hour mark soon, and I'm going to need to go have lunch. Okay, you'll be here. That's good. Yeah, as long as you're here later, we can do these things. Let's see. So the next one that comes up, let me make sure. Yes, is indeed psychicrevelation.com. So let's take a look. This is the one that I have to zoom out of a bit just right to get it to look right on my screen. So anyway. Tarot card interpretation and meaning, 7, the Chariot. Introduction. The Chariot indicates a lot of energy, but not free-for-all energy. It's directed, controlled, and has a goal in mind. When this card appears, you are likely to be fairly clear on what your hopes and dreams involve and what you are willing to do to make them come true. General. In general, this card points to determination and ambition. It's about getting things done and testing and proving that you've got what it takes. This is a sign that you should move forward with whatever you have in mind and in your heart and give it your best shot. Remember, though, that you'll need to use both your intellect and your heart in order to be truly successful. Work. In terms of work, it's important not to let small issues get blown out of proportion in your mind. There may be someone who is involved with your work who is inadvertently or not working against you. Don't let this get you down either. Just do the best you can and don't waste time on worrying about the way others perceive your efforts. If you're right, and you probably are, everyone will see this in the end anyway. You should be feeling very charged up and ready to go. Love. In terms of love, it's possible that you are tempted to go too far, too fast, and or that someone is pressuring you that way. Either way, communicate as best you can about your boundaries and preferences and be honest with yourself about the possibilities. If you aren't interested in a relationship with someone who clearly wants one with you, then the kindest thing you can possibly do is to let them know that you just aren't interested. The short-term angst this may cause will benefit everyone in the long run. I wonder if the Chariot card would be one to talk a lot about, or at least talk some about, that idea of boundaries, you know, if that is an accurate interpretation. Because, like, let's see, the Cancerian idea of order and structure and self-protection, that would imply boundaries to some extent, wouldn't it? That would imply, like, how could you have self-protection without having strong boundaries? So that does actually make a lot of sense, doesn't it? And by the way, people, if you want any relationship advice on that subject, take it from me. Make your boundaries very, very, very clear in relationships, or you can get hurt in many different ways. It can lead to all kinds of problems. Make sure your boundaries are strong and clear. You know, don't think it's spiritual to not have boundaries or something like that, as it almost seems to be implied by certain types of philosophies. All right, let's see. All right. That's another question. All right. I'm sure we'll get to that later, as long as you all still be here. Just did that today. Wait, you mean asserting boundaries, or true, I need it. Scappies get hurt deep. Yeah, I think that's true. Like, I know for myself, I sure as hell feel things so deeply. Like, it's almost a curse how deeply I feel things, you know? People will be like, oh, that's so wonderful, though. You feel emotion. I'm like, yeah, it's wonderful, but it can also really fucking suck, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think the typical Capricorn will get hurt deeply, but won't show it. And that's a challenge for Capricorns like myself to overcome. But I think I have basically overcome that, especially in having a greater commitment to being authentic, you know. One thing with being authentic is being committed to not withholding anything that you think or feel when in communication. So I guess I wouldn't be one to hide any hurt anymore, basically. Same. It's a fucking curse. I know, right? Hanson Robert Deck. Chariot looks strange. I'll have to look at that. Public ally asked for a much needed apology. If I get it done, it's not, and then it's off my shoulders that I want one. So you're talking more about like asserting boundaries there? It's for a much needed apology. So let's see here. That's for what I wanted. Ah, yes, I see. Yeah, communication is essential in relationships. You know, don't buy into the poisonous and toxic ideology that that you should do it all internally, you know, which I think we got into in the last tarot stream. So anyway, let me make sure we went over this. Okay. Finances. Finances in general may be going very well. You could be looking into purchasing something to do with transportation, a car, plane tickets to somewhere you've always wanted to go, anything of that nature. Prioritize paying down your debts. You can do it now if you are disciplined. All right, whatever. Health. On the whole, your vitality is very strong now, and you should have quite a lot of get up and go. This is an excellent time to begin or to increase a fitness plan. You may be able to make more progress than you ever thought possible. Spirituality. You may travel, even locally, to places that can help increase your spiritual awareness, and you will be in a mode where you learn a lot quite quickly about spiritual matters. Don't be afraid to attend seminars and talks on spiritual subjects that seem unfamiliar to you or outside your usual mode of learning. You can benefit in ways that you cannot currently imagine if you do try these new things. This can be a very profound time for you. Interesting stuff. I guess I don't see any reason to like critique or disagree with this stuff. Yeah, all I can do is reiterate that, in my opinion, there's always potentially far more interpretations than just these ones given. But anyway, that concludes that article. So I believe it was Connor who was next in line for a reading. I see we're 2 minutes away from the 3-hour mark, but I guess that means I can give Connor his reading now. And after that, I'll have to wrap up this stream, but again, I'll be back in an hour or two after I've had lunch and done anything else that I need to do. What is your future telling you? All right, let us see. Also, I'm gonna just check on like the stream real quick and stuff. Okay, we're looking good. So we would like a Celtic Cross reading for Connor in the chat, asking, what is my future telling me? What is his future telling him? Let us see. What is his future telling him? We are just rolling right along here. I swear it's always after I say that it locks. All right, let's see. Page of Wands, Wheel of Fortune reversed, King of Pentacles reversed, Strength, 8 of Pentacles reversed, 2 of Wands, the Hanged Man reversed, the 5 of Wands reversed, the Chariot, the card of the day, the Chariot, and Judgment reversed. That's funny. I think in your last tarot reading you got Judgment for the outcome card, only it was upright. This time it's reversed. Fascinating. Anyway, so let's see. Your question is, what is your future telling you? Well, let me take a look. That there will be much inspiration and change, I think, because we're looking at the Page of Wands for your current outside influences. We're looking at the 2 of Wands for the near future, and the Wheel of Fortune card for the challenge card. Yeah, much inspiration and new experiences, new developments, but it might be challenging for you to allow these new experiences. And part of that challenge might involve not allowing negative emotions that have not been reined in by your intellect to interfere. So there's that. What else? Let's see. You may be, okay, yeah. When you have the 8 of Pentacles reversed for what you hope to achieve and the Judgment card reversed for the outcome, like, the idea is you're trying to get out of being too narrowly focused. Like, you're trying to get out of having tunnel vision or being too narrow-minded. I think the idea is a broadening of your perspectives, basically. And let me see what else. Well, when you have the Hanged Man reversed for your attitude or position in the situation, there's this idea of coming out of the underworld, so to speak, coming out of great challenge and difficulty. And so it's like you are ready to sort of see the light again, or you are ready. And the question is, what is your future telling you? Well, it's telling you that how you're going to be feeling, at least, is that you're ready to ascend after having dealt with many like dark challenges, after having gone through, the underworld, you could say. So yeah, you're going to be ready for, getting back into the light, basically. Then with that 5 of Wands reversed for the outside force coming in, you've got peace coming at you, more cooperation and optimism. And Judgment reversed, you do still have to be careful, though, not to get too narrowly focused. And so I would even say for that, there may be a risk, theoretically, if I'm putting all this together in my mind correctly, of not completely integrating certain trauma that you have experienced. And because of that, your focus does become too narrow. And, you might, the Hanged Man reversed for your attitude position might manifest negatively in that you might be just wanting to sort of repress the negative and block it from your mind and focus on the positive rather than truly facing it and bringing your awareness to it and thus therefore reintegrating it. So watch out for that. Don't do that. Make sure that you bring the light of your awareness to these issues and truly make peace with them before moving on with them. But yeah, there's you got the Wheel of Fortune card as well for your challenge card. There's great changes coming your way, basically. I don't know when, I don't know how, but that should be what's happening. When will I be back? In about an hour or two. So let's see. I'm going to get off in a couple minutes. So anywhere between 12 or no, it's 12. It's going to be 12:20 my time, Eastern Standard Time. So anywhere between 1:20 and 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be back. You're Western, then you're 3 hours earlier. So for you, it would be between 10:20 a.m. and 11:20 a.m. if I did that math correctly. Have a good lunch. Thank you, little laughing mug. Yep, I'll be back. Hope you guys enjoy your break. And I'll be back with more tarot readings. Let's see. The order of questions is Sarah and then Luminiferous, I believe. So as long as you two are here, we'll do your readings between articles when we return. What am I going to get for lunch? I have no idea yet. I basically survive off of microwave dinners because that's my life, except for a few meals I'll have occasionally. So I'm sure it'll be another microwave dinner. But on the plus side, I figured out by now which of those taste the best. So yeah, they're not healthy. Believe me, if being healthy was a luxury I could afford, I would have done it a long time ago. Hopefully one day, but but not now. So, but fortunately, I've discovered that the way that my mind is, determines my health, my state of health so much more than the food that I consume. So luckily I at least have that, One's vibration is going to determine more than anything their state of physical health, though certainly eating healthy is obviously going to contribute to that also. You drink green tea, so yes, that's good. That's true, yeah. Yeah, I've got some of my healthy stuff going on, green tea as well as ginger tea. I drink that almost every day. I have fruit smoothies, usually every other day. Even in the winter, I just turn up the heat, unless it's really, really cold. So I do have I guess, healthy stuff that hopefully counterbalances the unhealthy stuff. But again, I think it's so much more a function of our beliefs in determining the effect that food has on our body. Though I would say it's also going to have at least a little bit to do with the food itself too. All right, so thank you guys so much for being here. See you in another hour or two. And thanks to everyone who has been here. And yeah, I can't wait to dig back even more into the Chariot card. So I'm really looking forward to it. All right. Thanks, lad. You're welcome, Connor. And thanks, everyone. See you guys soon.